This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. For those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about Preparedness Month here in the Cayman Islands. That conversation is taking place with Miss Danielle Coleman from HMCI, Hazard Management Cayman Islands, as well as Mr. Mark Codling from Hazard Management as well. Also, Miss Oneisha Richards, Department of Communications, and Mr. John Tibbetts from the National Weather Service. Before we went to the commercial break, we said we would have Miss Danny speak about some of the communication tools that they have in their toolbox as well over at Hazard Management. Danny?
Thank you, OC. Again, I think we're one part of a big family here. Everyone in this room works together. So the comm side, we rely heavily on our team at the Department of Communications. And of course, for the a lot of the information, obviously we depend on our friends John and the team at Weather to make sure we're getting the right information. But I think Oneisha talked a bit about the aftermath. I think one of the things we've always been trying to do as a team is make sure that we are fully transparent and very accountable for what we do. So the decisions we make nowadays is very much based on evidence. We're not having these sort of pie-in-the-sky ideas about certain risks. We really do a lot of research and get the best data. We say data is the new oil is one of our catchphrases at Hazard Management. And I mean, it really is. It's like you need to make sure that what the decisions we're making, both in Hazard Management but also at the National Emergency Operations Centre, are based on evidence. And as such, my very good friend Marky here has done a lot of work in mitigation. He'll talk more about the IoT flood sensors, for example, and the situational awareness dashboard. But again, I think one of the things is, again, making sure that what we do is in the public domain. I think nowadays we talk about Ivan and you mentioned the press, they're not coming in or so forth. We don't have that luxury. I say it's a luxury. I don't think it's a luxury. At the end of the day, everyone has a cell phone. What we're doing is very, very much in the public eye at all times. And I don't think that's a bad thing because we're always seeking information. We want to know back that we're doing what we're doing is the most effective way. And by way of example, every time we have any incident or any exercise, we do a very good comprehensive debrief to make sure that we're always learning from our incidents. Last year, we had so many lessons learnt last year. Everything was relatively smooth, but there's always so much to learn from these things. And the better we can get at keeping Cayman safe, we need to do that. So I'm going to pass over to Mark to talk a bit about his brilliant mitigation work. And again, he's doing it, almost finished his PhD in AI. So he really is the guy the brains behind the department.
Okay, Mr. Codling.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, OC. Just to highlight in terms of the work that we're doing, I think one of the key things is the whole idea of culture of readiness. That's the push we're moving towards. And as Danny indicated, some of the past historical data we're looking at, because it's important for us to understand where we're coming from, what are the areas that have been impacted. And what we have done significant mapping work with a series of stakeholders, including our colleagues from the Weather Services, Department of Environment and Lands and Survey, as well as Department of Planning. What we are trying to establish is pretty much having that baseline, understanding what are the quote-unquote fundamental data sets. And when I say fundamental data sets, we're looking at transportation network, right? Your power grid. If there's a storm, what could be the potential impact to such systems? All these systems are modeled in a software referred to as GIS. That's basically the Geographical Information System. And with that, we're able to ascertain quickly how many persons will be impacted. And one of the things we're trying to do, like with everything else we see nowadays, it's really web-based, and we try to have redundancies in place. And the whole communication component of that. So once we understand the data and where the impacts are, how do we communicate? And within that, we have the National Emergency Notification System. So we have several channels, in addition to what the Department of Comms and Oneisha's team speak about in terms of the WhatsApp channel. We also have mobile app, email, and SMS. The idea is we're trying to reach as much persons as possible. And worst case scenario, if we should go dark in the sense of there's a major power outage, revert to the radio waves. And Radio Cayman, as well as the other radio operators across the island, are big supporters, which we are part of what referred to as the radio alert system. We have utilized that, I think, in Tropical Storm Grace, so we had some outages from the telecommunication side, and we had to utilize that system to get the word out to the public. And I think what we need to highlight too as well, one of the big things we're trying to do, while we operate within the Cayman Islands, we do engage our regional and international partners. So one such initiative we're looking at currently, which I worked on last year in particular a lot, is the International Disaster Charter. Cayman Islands is part of a signatory to that agreement. Within that agreement, it allows us to access what we refer to as remote sense, or basically Earth observation data or satellite data. So persons are familiar with Google Earth, that imagery will get almost near real-time image. That image gives us before and after. So before the storm or any particular inclement weather condition hits us, we're able to ascertain data before and also data after the event has passed. What that allows us to do is to ascertain where the areas have been impacted in terms of flooding, and we're able to see that visually. What that does for us is builds upon, again, historical data. So when we go forward, for example, this hurricane season, we are aware of all those areas that are vulnerable. And of course, as Danny just mentioned, developments taking place, and would have probably see changes as we go by. So it's really working with the stakeholders, having the right data sets, and of course, utilizing the proper tools and hardware so we can work together to achieve a much more resilient approach as relates to our response.
Can I just add to that very quickly?
Sure.
Again, as Mark mentioned, we're doing a lot of work in the region and internationally. So we do have partners both at SEDEMA, which is the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. We work very closely with our overseas territory partners in the region and regional partners. Jamaica Defence Force, we worked, you saw us earlier this year in January working with them. 144 delegates spent 8 days here with us training on that response. But we also work very closely with Cayman Islands Government Office in London. And again, if we had a full blackout of comms here, we have surge capacity there to make sure that they can speak for Cayman so that there's not a void of information. I think, Oneisha talked about voids. You have a void of information and people start filling it with other stuff. So we need to make sure that we're constantly giving information out so people aren't seeking information elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we're going to go to our 8 o'clock news. When we return, the conversation will continue with Miss Danny Coleman, Mr. Mark Codling, Mr. John Tibbetts, and Miss Oneisha Richards talking about Preparedness Month, hurricane preparedness in the Cayman Islands. So don't change that dial. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time by Foster's is 7:59.
It's time to start preparing for this year's hurricane season, and Foster's has the essentials you need to weather a storm.
Stock up on canned goods, non-perishable foods, water, health and first aid items, pet supplies, flashlights, and other hurricane kit essentials.
Start preparing now using our online hurricane guide and emergency checklist. Just head to fosters.ky for more info. You can also follow us at Foster's Cayman on Facebook and Instagram for helpful tips throughout the season.
Foster's, better because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. A man remains on bail but is expected to enter pleas soon for aggravated burglary. Radio Cayman's Jevy Ebanks reports.
Levi Ambrose Powell is expected to enter pleas for aggravated robbery when he appears next before the Grand Courts on the 13th of June. The charges were formally transferred to the higher courts on the 16th of May. Those specific details of the alleged offense were not disclosed during the proceedings. Powell remains on bail under stringent conditions, including a curfew, a doorstep condition, and restrictions preventing from entering certain areas of the island. His upcoming court appearance will determine the next steps in the case, including whether he'll stand trial by jury or by judge alone. If convicted, Powell could face significant penalties under the criminal code, which outlines severe consequences for aggravated robbery, particularly when violence or weapons are involved. Jevy Ebanks, Radio Cayman News.
Thrill-seeking cyclists have been on the rise, with many drivers reporting to police stunts and dangerous tricks like wheelies during rush hour. Here's Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Solins.
This activity is believed to originate from a social media challenge called swerving. Police are warning parents and guardians of young persons that ride pedal cycles to speak with them about this activity and warn them of the seriousness of the dangers involved. In the reported cases and from what police have seen online, the young persons involved in these challenges are not wearing a helmet or any protective gear and then attempt to swerve into unsuspecting motorists, leaving no time for the motorist to react. This action results in not only a high likelihood of collision, but also causes distress for motorists and other road users, potential damage to vehicles, and in the worst cases, could result in serious injury or loss of life for those involved. Police remind these young cyclists that when riding on the roadway, they are accountable to the same traffic laws as any other motorist. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
If you see this type of behavior on the roads, you're encouraged to call police. If you have dash cam footage, even better. You can submit that online at rcips.ky. All is good at John Gray High School after a water leak is clogged by the reception area. Department of Education Services Director Mark Ray.
The team worked expeditiously to identify and fix the problem prior to school opening today. School will proceed today as usual, and the DES thanks the hardworking facilities team, school staff, and our third-party vendors for addressing this matter quickly and safely.
Puddles of water were seen inside and around the ground floor's girls' and boys' bathroom on Monday after a leak in the pipes in the wall. And the Cayman Islands Youth Development Consortium hosted its annual Celebrate Our Youth Day this weekend, shutting down a month's worth of activities as the country observed Child Month. As part of the event, newly elected government officials had an opportunity to sign the Supporting Cayman Youth campaign. YDC's Sylvia Wilkes shared personal testimony of resilience as part of the day-long event after experiencing trauma at the age of 5.
It was the involvement in various activities that helped me to remain sane, consistent. It took youth meetings, Sunday school, sports, choir, music lessons, etc.
Connecting her experience to the theme of Child Month, Grow As You Go Through, Dr. Wilkes pointed out the possibilities of the developmental assets to help young people bounce back and thrive.
I am grateful for the support of the Department of Children and Family Services and our ongoing collaboration. Also, I am elated that we will now begin to form youth asset builder groups starting in West Bay.
Celebrate Our Youth Day is an annual event designed to uplift, connect, and inspire Cayman's young people and those who support them. Now, the check of international news. Here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Danielle Yawowiecka. A UN official says Palestinians are being forced to walk up to 20 kilometres to collect food from a US and Israeli-backed organisation in Gaza. James Elder dismissed the group's work as a pretense of aid. It has closed its distribution sites for a day after dozens of people were killed trying to reach them. South Korea's new president has promised to bring stability after months of turmoil caused by the brief imposition of martial law. Lee Jae-myung was sworn in during a scaled-back ceremony. Thousands of protesters have surrounded Bulgaria's parliament building, angry at plans to join the European Union's single currency. An announcement is expected on Wednesday afternoon that the country has been accepted for Euro membership. BBC News with Danielle Yawowiecka.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin are the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
The 24th Annual Talent Exposition of the Arts, Joy, is here. Presented by the New Self-Help Foundation, Sunday, June 29th at the Hawkwill Theatre. Awesome performances by actress Caitlin Tyson, Erica Asai, Rico Rolando, Jade Dixon, Williams Quartet, Dequan Smith, UCCI Dance Company, Cayman Music School, Radiance Dance Studio, Centerpoint Dance Studio, John Gray Elite Strings, Lloyd Barker, Ola Jimmy LaPierre, and more. Tickets cost $15 CI prepaid and $20 at the gate, and available from the #1 shoe shop and Winners Circle Sports. Talent Exposition of the Arts, Joy, hosted by Anika Connolly and Lloyd Barker. June 29th at the Hawkwill Theatre. Gates open at 5 p.m. Show starts at 6 p.m. Part proceeds from this event to benefit the Foundation Educational Development Training Program of the Arts.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 86 degrees. Relative humidity is 72%. The barometric pressure 29.92 inches and rising. The wind is southeast at 10 knots. Overnight low was 83. Synopsis indicate moderate to fresh southeasterly winds along with moderate to rough seas in association with a ridge of high pressure over the Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving towards the northwest. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and possible thunder, and temperatures will rise to the mid-80s with a heat index near 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Your winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 6 to 8 feet, and some swells are expected along the southeastern coast, and a small craft warning remains in effect for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and possible thunder, and temperatures dipping to the low 80s tonight. Your winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet. Some swells expected along the southeastern coast for tonight, and a small craft advisory remains in effect for tonight also. Low tide will be this morning at 11:57, high tide this evening at 6:40. The sun will set this evening at 7 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:47. And the outlook is calling for moderate southeasterly winds and seas through Saturday morning. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
We were on the edge of a breakthrough. I knew the substance was extraterrestrial, but I didn't realize.
Aunt Angie, what does this have to do with managing my insurance?
Well, long story long, the entire lab exploded, and the radioactive sludge went everywhere. I ended up in the hospital for a few weeks. But I was able to manage everything with the CG online portal.
The online portal. Safe, convenient, simple. CG Britcay. Good like that.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
For the Health of It, heard on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and repeated on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. is brought to you by The Light Room. Tired of being unwell and struggling to find the energy and vitality to live the life you desire? Come get recharged from the inside out at The Light Room. Our non-invasive, holistic energy enhancement system detoxifies and energizes the body, enabling self-healing and balance. Book online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL, 38 Pasadora Place, GT.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Top of the morning to you. This time we check in with traffic, see what's happening on our roads. Steady traffic in both directions on the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz. As we look to Cool Road, traffic is steady heading to Georgetown. Expect some delays. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady traffic, as well as off the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way. On the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is steady. Heading east on Cool Road, traffic moving on pretty good. Shedden Road, moderate flow of traffic in both directions. And traffic flowing at a good pace coming from the West Bay four-way stop. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing at a moderate pace in both directions. Into Georgetown on Shed, we're looking not too bad as we look to Oil Robbers Drive, flowing nicely. Edward Street, moderate flow of traffic. And that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes past 12. We'll give you another look at traffic. Remember, click it or ticket.
Hungry? Need Subway any time of the day?
Yeah.
We've got you covered. Subway at Anderson Square, Centennial Towers, and Countryside Shopping Village is open 24/7, serving up fresh, delicious subs anytime you need them. And for your weekend cravings, West Shore Center is also open 24 hours on Friday nights and until 1 a.m. on Saturdays, because it's never too late for a great meal. Skip the line and order ahead with the Subway Cayman Islands app, or get your favorites delivered straight to your door with Bento and Let's Eat. Fresh, fast, and always here when you need us. Subway, eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Esta es la doctora Mónica Blandon de la Iglesia Embajadores de Dios. Estamos invitando a toda la comunidad hispana a unirse a nuestro anual Marcha para Jesús 2025 desde 7 Mile Beach hasta Albert Panton Street. Y a nuestro Jesús, nuestra única esperanza, concierto a las 6:30 p.m. en la calle Albert Panton. Te esperamos.
This is Pastor Andrew Ebanks of the Agape Family Worship Center, and I'm inviting everyone to join us for the annual March for Jesus on Saturday, June 7th at 5 p.m. The march will start at Public Beach and go all the way up to Albert Panton Street. Then at 6:30 p.m., right there on Albert Panton Street, we will be having the Jesus Our Only Hope concert. For more info, visit www.christian.ky and click on the March for Jesus tab. You can also email info@christian.ky or call or WhatsApp 929-6657. See you at the March for Jesus.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. For those of you who are just joining us, I want to remind you that we are talking about Preparedness Month here in the Cayman Islands. Actually, it's a 6-week initiative, and you heard, it may end up being an 8-week one later on as well, based on what Ms. Danny has told us as well. And, of course, it's my pleasure to have in the studio with me Ms. Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management, Cayman Islands, Ms. Oneisha Richards, who is the Comms Director, Department of Communications, CIG, Mr. John Tibbetts, who's National Weather Service Director, and Mr. Mark Codling. I believe he's now, is he the
Deputy Director of Preparedness, Planning and Mitigation.
Yes. So they're all in the studio with us. We've been talking, about, various topics. We've been talking about communications, some of the key messages in relation to Preparedness Month, building a culture of readiness, encouraging everyone to plan, because hurricane season, we're in it now, actually. What some of the activities that have been taking place as well, reminders for residents, telling you how to register on the NENS app as well, the importance of communications, and of course, the importance of accurate as well, as accurate as possible. It's not a perfect science, but getting closer to being perfect. Weather forecasting, weather reporting as well. So we're going to turn the mic over to Mr. John Tibbetts.
Interesting area to talk about in all fairness. In terms of dealing with a hurricane and what we're talking about preparedness. And usually when you're talking about preparedness is getting yourself ready to last out the hurricane, as it were, and to minimize damage and minimize loss of life and what have you. It's interesting that part of that preparedness also has to go to the end part once the storm is kind of on the way out. And one of the confusing times, as it were, is the all clear. In my world, I can tell you that the National Weather Service can kind of give you an idea afterwards and says, listen, the tropical storm force winds are going to end at this time. But the all clear has always been a complicated issue. Mm-hmm. It is complicated because it's more than weather. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. All right. The hazards management will argue that they need to get the teams out there to assess the island to see what the damage is like, so that individuals coming out from the relative safety and protected silos in your home, you don't get yourself into more trouble just because, you know, the island just isn't ready for you to move around in afterwards. And in the world of weather, we also realize something too, and that is, in a perfect world, we look at when the onset of tropical storm force winds and when the tropical storm force winds ends. However, Mother Nature doesn't work nice and clean. Okay, so sometimes they will send thunderstorms in advance of a hurricane coming in. Mm-hmm. We might have the onset of tropical storm winds, force winds at 6 p.m. this afternoon, but all afternoon you're in thunderstorms. Okay, that creates difficulty for you in doing your final preparations. It also gives you some sort of disconnect, thinking that the storm is already here. These are the outer bands of the storm. The other one too is that, and we had this situation with a tropical storm that went through the area recently, where we look on our maps and we say the tropical storm force winds in Grand Cayman and in the sister islands had completed. However, this storm was designed in such a way that it had some rain bands that were still wrapping across the sister islands. Now, these rain bands can bring conditions very similar to tropical storm force type conditions. And so in that particular case, I think we held up the warning for the sister islands for a bit longer while those rain bands kind of got themselves out of the way. Mm-hmm. So, and in the whole of this, it is very obvious that we need clear communication with the public. As many mediums that we can have. I remember in Hurricane Ivan, Miss Oneisha's department, which was formerly the GIS, the communications went down in Ivan, and I remember them coming to me, and we were doing audio recordings at that time on the Cayman Weather Radio, and GIS came to me for the codes so that they could post a message on the weather radio to the general public. Okay, and this is the nature of the beast. We will try each and every way we can do to get that message out. But it regardless if we send out the message, it's up to the receiver to heed the words and pay very careful to it. Otherwise, you can, technically speaking, waste the message, as it were.
I think John raises a really good point there about the all clear. As John mentioned, it's obviously weather has a part to play in this. But again, those risk assessment, the damage assessment teams being out on the ground, seeing what the actual damage is, there's nothing worse than going through a big storm and obviously a lot of anxiety and all the preparedness and so forth to come out and really severely hurt yourself afterwards because you haven't heeded the warning. We have seen over the last few years a couple of restaurants opening up early and big queues for various food areas. I won't name and shame anyone on the radio today. However, I might do later on this year if it happens again. But it is one of those really important things. It's like, you can't put people at risk. So if you're putting your staff at risk in the aftermath, opening a restaurant early or opening a gas station, whatever it is, you really shouldn't need to be in that position in the first place. If you have supplies ready to go, you shouldn't get to 4 hours after a storm's departed or whatever it is and feel the need to go and get some fried chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It creates a big issue for us because we need to make sure that the roads are clear. We need to get the debris off. We need to be responding to any kind of casualties we may have. And a lot that's being all fed through the National Emergency Operations Centre. And of course, a lot of the public don't see a lot of that side of things. But it is really, really important to heed those warnings and know that the all clear is there for a reason. And it's because the damage assessment has to be done in accordance again with the other factor of the weather.
Now, speaking of food consumption, it is, when I go out on the road now during lunchtime, midday, and any time of the day, it is surprising how many persons rely on food from others as opposed to preparing their own.
Yes.
So maybe we need to send a special message for those persons who are a little averse to cooking or storing food, that they need to do that, because if you're locked up for 10, 12 hours, then obviously you're going to be hungry as well. So maybe we need to tailor some sort of a message, to them as well. And
hashtag learn how to cook.
Which brings me to the curiosity seekers as well, who want to get out there, who have never experienced hurricane before, and that may be local as well as expatriate workers on the island, and want to see what it's all about.
Can I also throw in there, and before you started talking, I was going to kind of raise my hand to try and say something, and that is, and your point there just at the end there, that it just fits right in with what I got to say here. When you experience a Cat 1 hurricane, a Cat 2 hurricane, that's one thing.
Yes.
But when you get a Cat 4, Cat 5, it's a whole different ball game. Okay? We're talking about, just briefly just now, we were talking about after the hurricane. Okay? So I spent Hurricane Ivan at the fire station, at what was the NEOC at that time.
Yeah.
And as the team was going out to do an assessment, all right, they asked me, John, you wanted to come along for the ride. As a meteorologist, I want to see the damage because I'm going to look at that damage in a different light than you're going to look at it in. And we drove the truck down and we got on Ocean Club Straight. And we're swerving all over the place because there are cars, fridges, stoves, everything you can think about in the road. Okay? And about halfway down, we're stopped by the police. We can't go any further. Mariners Cove is in the way. Okay? Now, there were other individuals trying to get up through the back roads at that time. But NRA and those guys then had to get backhoes and bulldozers up in there to try and clear the path. So individuals thinking that they could just travel from west to east at, right after the storm finished, let's go home. It's not that simple, especially not with those large, big monster hurricanes. All right, you can get a Cat 1, but a Cat 1 makes you feel too confident, makes you feel too safe. All right? Cat 4s and Cat 5s usually where, while there are dangers with the lower level systems, the Cat 4 and Cat 5s are nation changers, as it were. Usually when you're hit by a Cat 5, it usually takes a country like 10 years to recover from it. So what we did in Hurricane Ivan was absolutely remarkable.
Yes.
I think just to add to this idea of the all clear, one of the things that we do recognize is that, and we've gotten much better at being able to share with the public situationally what is happening, because we also are very aware, again, in the smaller storms, right? So in the Cat 1, Cat 2, someone, in Boddentown is going to have a very different experience from someone in West Bay, depending on the direction of the storm. Learning a lot about weather from a but enjoying it all. And what's important is that the public recognizes we're giving them information about where they are as well. And that's changed, and we've worked really well over the past couple of years to do that. So the communication goes out. It talks about what island is it? Is it all 3 islands? Is it Grand Cayman? Is it just the sister islands? Is it along the south coast? Is it, So we're trying to get better at being specific about what we're giving information on and what you should be doing. However, to the point, like we all have a part to play in this. And after the passing of a storm, you have emergency services, you have utility companies, you have HMCI going out to make sure things are okay for us to move about safely. And if you're impeding them, or if they have to come rescue you because you've gotten into a situation, nobody wants to be that person. You shouldn't want to be. So the encouragement is to read the information you're getting, or view it, because it's in every medium, and just look for those details. And you can always call into the hotline to say, hey, I'm in this location, I need to get somewhere, or I need to do something, and you'll get that information back.
Okay. Now, Ms. Oneisha, I know you have to leave us soon. I don't think we have any other guests in the studio schedule, so we're going to ask the others to stay on. So while you have the mic, I want to give you an opportunity, for some closing comments as well. From
Sure.
your standpoint.
Again, thank you for having us. Having me. The team is going to hang out with you for a bit longer, so that'll be welcome, I'm sure. We really do enjoy the work that we get to do. Our team in Department of Communications works on many, many different types of communication for the government, but this one is something that's extremely important and close to our hearts. So we spend a lot of time planning. It would be remiss of me to not mention that we work across government with communicators. So the Joint Communication Service is something that is stood up whenever we're in crisis. Hope this year it'll hopefully not be a crisis situation, but we do we all communicators across the government and public sector work together to ensure that we have the coverage we need as a country. And I think it's a testament to how Cayman's come through many, many years successfully, I think, and a beacon throughout the region for how we manage and communicate through storms. So I'm very excited to continue working with the group and be able to support in this current capacity.
Okay, and thank you for all that you and your group do as well. Thank you very much for that. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Ms. Dana Coleman, Mr. John Tibbetts, and Mr. Mark Codling will continue. So don't change that dial, because we're going to still be talking about Preparedness Month here in the Cayman Islands. And of course, we're into hurricane season already. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning.
Ouch!
When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Shipping to the Cayman Islands is fast, reliable, and seamless thanks to Cayman Airways Cargo. Need it faster than ocean freight? Cayman Airways Cargo offers multiple cargo flights to Grand Cayman from Miami weekly, so your packages, whether big, small, or in between, will arrive in no time. You can even use a Cayman Airways Cargo US address for your online shopping. Cayman Airways Cargo is also the only carrier providing air freight services for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Contact us today and see why Cayman Airways Cargo was voted as Cayman's best cargo and logistics company in the Best of Cayman Awards. For details, visit CaymanAirways.com/cargo.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
The Cayman Turtle Center's Turtle Crawl 5K is back, Sunday, June 8th, starting from the Cayman Turtle Center at 6:30 a.m. Registration is $25 CI and includes a race shirt and a goodie bag. All funds raised will support conservation of green sea turtles in the Cayman Islands. Corporate discounts are available by emailing info@turtle.ky. Register now for the Turtle Crawl 5K at turtlecrawl.ky. Proudly sponsored by Stingray Media, Double M Distribution, Health City, and Gatorade.
This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and we're talking about Preparedness Month here in the Cayman Islands. I'm going to sneak in a few birthday shout-outs while I'm at it this time around. So Mrs. May Borden, she is celebrating her birthday today, the Wednesday the 4th of June. Happy 94th birthday coming from her entire family with love. So Miss May Borden, 94 years old today as well. Also, we see here, this person says, please wish my one and only daughter, Tasha Dilbert Bennett, who is celebrating her 35th birthday today. Happy birthday. Greetings coming from her mom, Sylvia, Miss Winsome, uncles, Danielle, Marias, Frederick, aunts, Elaine, Cleopatra, and Vivian. We all love you so much. And I'm waiting for that other one to come through. Miss Susan. We have Miss Sarah Orrett, who's celebrating her birthday today. Yes, happy birthday to Miss Sarah Orrett. Of course, you know where you can find her at the reception area at the government admin building, doing an excellent job as well. And also Mr. Preston Power. Mr. Preston Power, greetings are coming from Abel and family. These are just greetings, no birthday greetings, just Abel and family. And he wanted to give a big shout out to Captain Paul as well. So with that, we're going to go back to our discussion about Preparedness Month and what we didn't do at the start. And I think the last time you were in here, we actually may have been one of your colleagues talking about the prediction, you know, in terms of the number of hurricane, the number of named storms, the number of major, hurricanes as well. Mr. Tibbetts?
Well, this is going to almost sound boring because I've been coming up here kind of year after year and going, guess what? The prediction is for an above average season. Yes, the prediction is for an above average season. 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 5 major hurricanes in there. The experts, when they went out and looked at the various conditions that dictate if we're going to have an active season or not, two main ones that they looked at was the sea surface temperatures. The sea surface temperatures are warm. They're not at the level they were last year, but they're still well warm enough to produce systems. The second is the phase of the El Nino La Nina cycle. Mm-hmm. Last year we had everything piled up against us. In all fairness, last year we had a La Nina. It's now moved to a neutral phase. Neutral phase doesn't necessarily get you out of the woods completely, as it were. We've even had El Ninos with a decent level of activity and stuff like that. So, but a neutral phase will at least put some extra wind shear up there that will tear apart some of these systems. I will say, you're hearing me talk about every year after year, that we're having an above average season. And there's a little reason behind the scenes, in all fairness, and that is, if I was to check what an average season was over the last 10 years, the numbers are going to come in much higher than what the average season is that is being used. Mm-hmm. And that's because that is, at the heart and soul, that's global warming. Okay? I know the La Nina and El Nino cycle comes into it and stuff like that, but the global warming is giving extra fuel to the development of storms. So one of the markers that climate change experts will tell you is that we're expecting a lot more major storms in particular. One of the other things that's coming out is more incidents with regards to rapid intensification. So what is the average season is increasing, and again, we're expecting an above average season again. However, it only takes one. No matter what level it's at, it only takes one.
Yes. Okay, so Danny and Mark, let's talk a little bit more now about personal preparedness. What do we tell the public out there in terms of and I know that you've been preaching this all along, but you can't say it too often in terms of people being prepared, making personal prepared, especially those persons that you want to reach who may be new to the island and never experienced a hurricane before, even some locals as well.
Want to talk to you this one, Danny? Let's talk.
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think what's important, if you're new to the island, one of the things we try to encourage, obviously, to have your emergency kit packed with the necessary items, flashlight, your batteries, and very importantly, in terms of your travel documents. That's very important. We see sometimes you go to the stores, they will sell a nice proper seals where you can have this in a plastic, properly sealed and hardened, that if in case of any flooding, those documents are protected. More so importantly, it's important for you to also know your shelter, because we're trying to do some public messaging around that. Where's your nearest shelter? That's key, because a person is new to the island. Understand what is your risk within your community. I'm in a low-lying area, for example. So stuff like those we need to ensure, and not just protect in terms of from a personal side, but also from a property side as well. Ensure that your insurance is up to date. That's very important as well.
I think the structural integrity of your home is so important, knowing what that is. As flood-prone areas, again, are you in a flood-prone area? I think Mark rightly mentioned the insurance of your home. If you haven't got up-to-date home insurance, you really need to be doing that now, taking photographs of those big important items, because, again, nothing worse than losing all your entire furniture and not knowing the value of it and being underinsured. I mean, I have full transparency. I talked about transparency earlier on. I remember many years ago, and admittedly before I was in this line of work, it was before Ivan, and we had a storm. And I remember going to an insurance company and saying, okay, I forgot to pay my content insurance. And the storm was coming like 3 days later. And they just laughed in my face, and rightly so, because I'm like, oh, please, no, there's no way we're giving you insurance. Come back next week if your house is still standing. Yes. And I'm like, unfair play, because, again, I'll never forget it. And nowadays, of course, I'm much more aware of that content insurance and home insurance and structural integrity and so forth. But it just really is important to make sure you're doing that. And again, another really big thing to mention is everyone's homes and everyone's families are very specific to their own needs. So you may have elderly people in the household or in the community. You may have young kids who have specific needs. You may have, different people with different medical conditions. You really, we can give you all the generic items for your shelter kit or your home preparedness kit on our website, which is caymanprepared.ky. But you need to tailor it to your own specific needs, because, again, everyone's needs are different. And I think making sure that you're looking after all those people in your family, including your pets, and your community, because obviously, Cayman's getting bigger and bigger, and of course there's a lot of people in communities that need extra help. And we, really do ask people to look after their neighbours, look after their communities, because, again, we're only as strong as our weakest link. We've got to work together. We've got to make sure we're all prepared and we're all safe during a storm.
That's true. Strong community, strong country.
Okay, and let's talk about then more about community preparedness. And you do have what's the name of the
the CERTs?
CERTs, yes. And we had representatives from CERTs on one of our shows as well. But let's remind persons of that also.
Sure, I think one of the key elements we encourage persons. I mean, it's a voluntary service that you provide, but they play a critical role as it relates to the response for assisting us in case of any eventually for emergency. And that gives us all the ability to respond accordingly. Because the community itself, they understand the risks. They know where the potential impacts are within the community. We recently conducted a series of training. We had a graduation as well with our certs, and they participated across, not just looking at Grand Cayman, but also for the Sister Islands. So we're looking forward again another session working with the stakeholders. I know this weekend in particular we also be having our shelter management training, both Saturday and Sunday, and that will be at the Prospect Primary.
Okay.
So that is also a voluntary service as well. So we encourage persons, if they're willing to participate and be a part of the shelter management team, we encourage persons to come out, and there'll be a training session by various stakeholders working closely with RCIPS as well as the Department of Family Service as well.
And again, I mean, volunteers are really the backbone of any response. We want to make sure they're trained volunteers, because there's nothing worse than putting people in harm's way who aren't aware of how to respond in a way that's going to be safe. But we also work very closely with the Red Cross, for example, and again, and all voluntary agencies are part of our national response. Because it takes everyone to assist in the aftermath, and the more volunteers we can get, be it CERTs or be it shelter managers, the better. We also have a big training coming up in 2 weeks for our whole National Emergency Operations Centre and our executive and our strategic coordination group. And again, that's making sure that everything is streamlined, that we know we're all working together, but we're also on the same wavelength with the same training, standardised training, and everyone's aware of their responsibilities and roles in an activation.
Okay, we have a caller. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to your panel.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Yes, listening to you guys for a few minutes now, and what are the, let me see how we can word this now. Well, I gotta try to say it blunt. The trees that are hanging over our streets, they are really out of control, and they're privately owned by owners. What are the restrictions during hurricane season for these owners to cut back their trees from over our main streets? From West Bay to East End, we got trees hanging here and there from people's own private yard. What are your intake on that? Thank you.
I think that's a really, really good question, ma'am.
I know with the Department of Planning, they play a critical role there. Could reach out with them and get some more details on it.
Yeah, and potentially NRA and a few other stakeholders.
Yes.
I will have that conversation with them, those government departments that might be able to help. Again, I'm not sure where the location is, but I think it's a really good reminder that everyone in Cayman has a responsibility to make sure their area and their community is safe. If you've got a load of coconuts on your trees, for example, that might impact your neighbour's property, or you have a construction site that's not secured during a storm, you really are putting people's lives at risk. So I'd strongly encourage everyone in the Cayman Islands community to do your part to make sure your community, your home, your neighbours, they're all safe. And that, again, looks at cutting down trees that are going to be an issue, a projectile in the storm.
Yeah, I know for a fact if it impacts, for example, the power lines, and if you reach out to the power company, then they will do the necessary works. Because that's part of their preparedness as well. Because what we try to do ahead of time, and obviously we work closely with the Department of Environmental Health. They'll go up and all clean up those debris, because we know those can be missiles if there's a significant hurricane.
But we'll definitely take that away and have that conversation
with the various stakeholders.
Because I do agree it can put people's lives at risk.
Okay. We're going to take our last commercial break. I'm going to let you guys go at 9 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly. Okay.
My mom's a superhero. She always knows what to do when I feel icky. Yesterday, we went to West Bay Pharmacy, and they had everything she needed. Medicine, my favorite band-aids with dinosaurs, and even flavored vitamins. Mom says they keep our family healthy. I think they're magic. But don't tell anyone. I think superhero shop at West Bay Pharmacy. West Bay Pharmacy, where the superheroes shop. West Bay Pharmacy and Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner.
Thinking about upgrading your sleep? It's time to discover big savings at Brand Source Home Gallery's Discover Day Mattress Sale. Save $800 on Stearn & Foster, $600 on Tempur-Pedic, $500 on Sealy mattress sets. Plus, enjoy free delivery. Say goodbye to the backaches, hello to the bad rest. But hurry, sale ends June 7th. Visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 or check out brandsourcecayman.com.
This summer, choose from 10 international destinations for your vacation with Cayman Airways. Explore New York, discover Denver, roam Los Angeles, play in Tampa, shop in Miami, tour Panama, uncover Havana, hike in La Ceiba, jam in Kingston, or relax in Montego Bay. Connecting flights are also available from the sister islands. Cayman Airways offers more international non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline, and the lowest rates for checked bags. Book today at CaymanAirways.com, download our new mobile app, or call Cayman Airways reservations on 949-2311. Come fly with us and relax with your uniquely Caymanian airline.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of this segment of the show talking about Preparedness Month. In the studio, we have Mr. Mark Codling, who's the Deputy Director of Hazard Management, Cayman, Ms. Danielle Coleman, the Director, and Mr. John Tibbetts, Director of the National Weather Service. So we want to make sure that we cover everything that needs to be, covered as well. I think, Mr. Tibbetts, you wanted to talk about the active seasons and active seasons. When was the last time that we really didn't have so much of an active season as far as hurricanes are concerned?
Yeah, I got to dig back up to some stats there for you, and according to the Google search that I did, the last active season was about 2015 or so.
Yeah, and yet last year we were activated.
Yeah, and
when you say active, can you define what that means?
Well, an above average, an average season is 14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you only had, and this is 11 storms. That's not 11 named storms. So it in that particular case, we had a very strong El Nino. Mm-hmm. Now, we've had El Ninos since then and still had an active season, but not to the level that it happened in that year. All right. And reminder for everyone, we are talking about a prediction that's for the entire Atlantic Basin, not just for the Cayman Islands, not for the Northwest Caribbean. It is for the entire Atlantic Basin. So, there are years in which we have a lot of storms that go out in just stay out in the Atlantic Ocean, stay out away from the Caribbean and stuff like that. Other years, last year was a good example. We had a few storms that came through the Caribbean.
Yes.
Cayman Islands kind of have one little benefit to us, and that is when people are talking about traditional hurricane paths and what have you, it's a very long path to get it all the way to the Cayman Islands to remain far enough south, that far west. That being said, where a lot of our danger comes is in the second half of the hurricane season, when the storms don't form so much way out in the Atlantic Ocean, but have a tendency to form in the Western Caribbean itself, giving us short notice, rapid intensification, all kind of problems. We didn't necessarily have too much of that last year, but
we didn't, but of course our friends in the States did, and I think that's a great point, John. It's like at the end of the day, rapid intensification can happen literally on our doorstep, and what you're thinking is going to come in as a Cat 1 or a tropical storm can actually increase dramatically, and I think that's what we've always got to prepare for. The very worst case scenario when a storm's coming our direction. I mean, I think if you ask anyone from Little Cayman last year, Raphael, that was disruptive. Yes, it was Cat 1 or whatever it was at the time, and it can get a lot worse. But we were there the next day and could see the damage on the island between the trees down, the networks are down, so communication was a real problem. A lot of damage to some of the hotels. They managed to clean up very, very quickly, and a big shout out to all of them involved last year. But again, it just goes to show it just takes one storm, and it doesn't have to be a big one, to have a serious disruption on your day-to-day activities and potentially your life.
Okay.
No, thank you. I think one of the key elements and what we try to push is persons don't plan to fail, they simply fail to plan. That's one of my key things. I think it's always important for us to maintain that, have our plans in place, both personal as well as as a family and as well as a community. That's very critical and important.
And to pivot, I mean, again, hazard management, we're doing quite a lot of these internal workshops because we have some new staff, and the idea is, let's make sure our entire house is in order. Correct. So that we can do whatever we need to do. So we have a plan. We were going through our plan yesterday, and of course, we're like, this is a plan, and we all know the plan, but we have to be able to pivot if things change or and adapt to whatever the circumstances is, So I think that's really important, the ability to be dynamic in a situation, to be able to think on your feet. And that's not just obviously hazard management, that's the entire stakeholder group involved in National Emergency Operations Centre and the public, because again, rapid intensification can happen. You just got to be ready for whatever it holds and be prepared. The more prepared you are, the better. And I think, there's one thing talking about preparedness, but actually we should also be talking about business continuity afterwards.
Yes.
What happens in the recovery? When the storm leaves and you've got no glass on your windows in your business, or you've got no security, or it's flooded out and you've lost all your internal content, or you've lost your staff members because they've either evacuated or there's too much going on at home to come to work.
Continuity, yeah.
You've got to be thinking about, how does your business recover afterwards? How do you make sure you can somehow turn the lights on and pay the bills and pay the staff and make sure your business is up and running? And I think that's often neglected. We're doing a lot of work at hazard management with the portfolio of civil service to ensure that one of our responsibilities is to review all government business continuity plans. We had a training last week. We had 17 trainings last week of 3 hours long for each statutory authority and each government entity. And we now review all those plans to make sure that they're actually fit for purpose, because there's a lot of interdependencies. I mean, there's one thing about having your own house and gear, but actually if you're reliant on, be it IP addresses or the general registry for something, or the finance department for something, or a different department, how do they all fit together? So that's one of the responsibilities that we have at hazard management, that we make sure that business can continue, and we really strongly encourage the public to do it as well. We're very happy again to come out to the public to talk about business continuity, because that, I think, in Ivan was a real missing issue, and I think that's why a lot of businesses did not reopen after Hurricane Ivan.
Has any work been done on how we can mitigate this whole issue of a scramble for plywood, before a hurricane, and this whole, I understand what is being done, and, you assign a certain amount to each member of parliament, but there must be some better way. Some much more modern way of addressing this. Yes, I know the more persons that have shutters on their homes and their buildings, then that means that the less demand there is for it. But for some reason, the demand seems to keep going up rather than down.
It typically peaks because obviously if there's a impending storm or hurricane. And again, what we need to understand is obviously looking at the supply chain as well, because obviously with these items coming from outside, there's also be a demand on the outside as well. So I think what we try to do from a hazard management standpoint, of course working with the NOC members, for any particular storm that's going to be impacting us, we try to go about an assessment. So before the impact, we say, okay, what would be the potential impact? Is this a worst case scenario? Obviously, if it's a worst case scenario, then we'll probably require the certain level of resources. I think it's a discussion, again, at different levels that we need to actually look at in terms of how do we apply whatever solution is applicable versus overkill, if I should say. So it's really understanding what is the impact and how do we translate that to say, okay, we require this amount of plywood in this case. And we see, for example, in other cases, we see persons probably trying to purchase generators. So that's an example of category 2 or 3 is probably hitting us. Person like, only let's get generators, and then maybe generators so loud. So it's really understanding. So what we try to do from hazard management standpoint is to look at the supply chain, understand what's taking place, and have those plans in place.
I think to add to that, again, we work very closely with the Chamber of Commerce as well. So the National Emergency Operations Centre, the NEOC, is a public-private partnership. It's not just government members. It's a very wide network of 19 emergency support teams under 4 clusters. And Chamber of Commerce leads one of that, will promote the economic continuity. One of the conversations we have on a regular basis, obviously, is about food security. And I do think it's one of those things that we need to be doing more about. But we have a great relationships with all our suppliers. And it's so much so that, Foster's actually put food in the warehouse for us for the year, which is for the hurricane season, which, again, is an amazing for, community well-being. It's fantastic for us and a great relationship we have with them. But we do, funny enough, last week we had a disaster management conference with our colleagues at Tropical Shipping. It was a sort of joint enterprise.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And one of the conversations we had with ALT at the time, Dan Murphy it's like, how do we build this relationship stronger? How do we make sure food security and hardware stores are very much part of this planning? Because again, it's not good for them that all of a sudden they get bombarded with people begging for plywood and needing it. We had the same issue last year with sandbags. I mean, the joke was hazard management became sandbag Sherpas last year. And again, it's one of those things that we work very closely with NRA to bring the sand, the quarry sand, and our friends at Regiment and CERTS and everyone else who was at Red Cross who were involved in that. But it really becomes an issue, that lack of preparedness. If everyone had sandbags now in advance and plywood now, it would make everyone's lives so much easier. So how do we manage that? I think there's definitely more work that we need to do on that to make sure it's a clearer framework in place, that not everyone's, it's the quickest person manages to get the plywood first, and it's like that's not what should be happening. It should be the most vulnerable people who really need it.
Mr. O.C., can I say something here?
Sure.
Quite a number of years ago now, I went to a national hurricane conference, and one of the concepts that they were teaching back then is with regards to plywood and what have you. A lot of people, individuals, the only time they have the need for the plywood is when the hurricane's coming.
Yes.
And they just go and just nail up the board over the windows. At this hurricane conference, they introduced something that they defined, they referred to it as poor man shutters. Okay? And the idea was that every home would have plywood cut and already spec'd to go over each window. Okay? And you would have the necessary support already on your windows and what have you. And come the threat of the hurricane, you just choose out the wood, put it in place, and it goes in real quick. It helps with your preparation time, and it helps with you always knowing that you're going to have your plywood there ready for those windows at all times. Okay? It needs to be part of your hurricane plan.
That's so correct. All
right? Because when the lumber is given out to whoever it's given out to give out, it's going to be almost like on a first come first serve basis, right? And if you don't have your windows fixed and a hurricane comes, you endanger everything inside that, not just your personals, but anybody living in that building is staying in that building during the hurricane, they're in danger.
I think it's a really good point. Sorry, just to piggyback on that. We're talking about plywood here, but actually it's a much bigger argument in that relief in the aftermath of any emergency really can't be first come. I mean, okay, the first 24 hours might be a bit of a free-for-all, but there's a lot of work that goes into doing a needs assessment, again, from our department with other key stakeholders, led by the National Emergency Operations Centre. And the idea is, let's understand who are the most vulnerable people here, who, both from a geographical or social or whatever it looks like, how do we make sure that they are the ones that get the assistance first? We have to triage this. And I'm a massive believer, obviously, it can't become political. This is not a political game here. This has to be who are the most people in need. And we do a lot of work at Hazard Management on social vulnerability indexing. And again, it's an ongoing project to make sure we can map communities that really do have specific needs. We know a lot of communities that we work in for the IIT flood census, for example, have flooding issues even at the dry season. So we've chosen those specifically because they are geographically the most likely to flood. And I think we have a very good arrangement in the executive, which again is cabinet ministers and so forth, because we have the data. We say, look, this is the data. We know these areas are the biggest flood prones. It doesn't really matter whose constituency it is. At the end of the day, it has to be based on the most vulnerable. And that's for all our relief supplies as well as, when you're doing needs assessments and, assisting in the aftermath, we have to triage and make sure the most needy people are the ones who are actually the most vulnerable and not the loudest people.
Excellent. So we'll leave that as the last word. I want to thank all of you for making yourselves available. And we know that it has been last month was a busy month for you, and you continue to keep the Cayman Islands safe, keep us prepared as much as you can, and that safety is really dependent on being prepared. That's the main part of that as well. And I want to thank all of you and for what you and your organizations do to assist the people of the Cayman Islands as well. Folks, we've reached the top of the hour. We're going to have our headline news. When we return, the phone lines will be open, and then I had to do the birthday shout-outs that we left a little bit earlier because we had really some important things to talk about as well. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The National Roads Authority has scheduled nighttime paving works on the westbound lane of Shamrock Road between Discovery Drive and Midway Close. It's taking place tonight and again tomorrow from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. Motorists are advised to exercise caution as this area will be an active work zone. The president of the International Committee of the Red Cross tells the BBC, quote, Gaza has become worse than hell on earth. She tells the BBC Palestinians have been stripped of human dignity and international humanitarian law has been hollowed out. It comes as aid distribution centers in Gaza are closed today, as Israel's military warns roads leading to the sites will be considered combat zones. At least 27 Palestinians were killed by Israeli fire close to an aid point on Tuesday, according to Hamas-backed local officials, the third deadly incident this week near a site run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The IDF said its troops fired shots after identifying what it described as suspects who moved towards them, quote, deviating from the designated access routes. Elsewhere, the Hamas-run Civil Defense Agency says 12 Palestinians were killed after an Israeli strike hit a school housing displaced people in Khan Yunis. Israel does not allow international news organizations into Gaza, making verifying what's happening in the territory difficult. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Our phone lines are open now, so if you want to call in, have any questions or comments, or any topic that you want to talk about, our toll-free number 1-800-534-8255. Also 949-8037, 949-6990. WhatsApp 925-3261. So we see also that Miss Chastine Elizabeth Rankin celebrating her birthday today as well. Chastine Rankin celebrating her birthday. And yesterday, Pamela Ebanks, our own Miss April Cummins, Marilyn Jackson, Denise Watson Campbell all celebrated birthdays yesterday as well. One of our listeners also sent a message in, and it said, thank you for that question. I think it was a question in relation to the plywood. It says some persons have their homes all covered with new plywood. Some get one or two sheets, especially elderly and special needs. And then they put in all caps, it's always been political, at least in West Bay, in terms of the distribution of plywood or distribution of items after a disaster, after a hurricane as well. So this person says it's always been political, at least in West Bay. And it of course, should not be political, as well. And but it is something that we need to look into. We need to refine the process. We shouldn't have to be year after year after year doing the same thing in terms of handing out plywood to the same individuals. If you were to add up all of it, you would probably figure out at the end of the day that it turns out cheaper if you had provided that individual with some form of hurricane shutters or something like that. When you add up all of the years that you may have been providing plywood to the person as well. So this person has written, they have an issue, they wanted to highlight, I wouldn't say an issue, they wanted to highlight how disappointed they are. They say that they're at a loss for words. Can you imagine that the only Caymanian thus far that did so well in representing the Cayman Islands in the Miss World competition, Jada Ramon, in truth and in fact, they go on to say that they treated her wrong from the very beginning. Can you imagine? They stripped the original Miss World of her title, Jada being the second runner-up, obtained the title of Miss World and never even received anything. I honestly thought that if someone loses a title, they should be stripped of their that title, and whoever then obtains the title, that person should receive whatever was given to the original person. Jada arrived back on island on Monday afternoon and was only greeted by her immediate family members, one member of the Miss World committee at the airport. The one member of the Miss World committee at the airport was only there to collect the gowns, not even a bouquet of flowers. The only flowers that were there were brought by her mother. The Department of Tourism, or whatever department is responsible for that, should look into it. This type of behavior should not be expected or allowed. A person says that they're totally disappointed with the committee. I'm not sure whether or not the Miss World, the franchise here is privately held, and whatever and whether or not they get any assistance from the Department of Tourism. But obviously the writer is disappointed by the way that Miss Ramon was treated on her return to Cayman on Monday. So I was asked to share that with you, and I have shared that as well. Okay, I shared this other birthday greeting as well, and maybe a little bit late for the plug, but to remind you that, as always, our birthday shout-outs brought to you by Coca-Cola, who are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. And by Yum. Daily school lunch menus are available to browse on the Yum website. Just visit yumcayman.ky for more information as well. Okay. Let's find some other things to share with you. Like I pointed out earlier before our discussion with our panelists this morning about preparedness. I shared with you that in 1966, the first hurricane of that season arrived in Cayman or near to Cayman, because I think Cayman experienced some 75 mile per hour winds. And that was like on the 8th of June. This was reported on the 9th of June, 1966. That hurricane's name was Hurricane Alma. Hurricane Alma that we encountered at that point in time. And on that same issue, that same issue of the Trade Winds newspaper, it was also reported that at 7:15 Tuesday morning, that a freak tornado struck the watering place area with winds estimated at 150 miles per hour. Damage was estimated in excess of several thousand pounds, because we still used pounds, shillings, and pence those days. Said that 2 small boats were destroyed by the sudden twister, and a 3rd boat was missing and believed to have been carried out to sea. One house top was completely ripped off and several others damaged. A number of small buildings were destroyed. Trees were uprooted, and branches were scattered over a square mile area. It says that the tornado left in its wake a path of destruction more than 100 yards wide from the bluff to the sea. Fortunately, there was no loss of life or personal injuries sustained as well. So whether or not that tornado was part of the hurricane or effects of the hurricane, not sure, but that was the case. That was the case. We do have a caller. Let's go to... do we want to take the commercial break first, Miss Susan? Let's take the commercial break. Caller, don't hang up. Just stay on the phone line. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Return. We will take your call. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
My mom's a superhero. She always knows what to do when I feel icky. Yesterday, we went to West Bay Pharmacy, and they had everything she needed. Medicine, my favorite band-aids with dinosaurs, and even flavored vitamins. Mom says they keep our family healthy. I think they're magic. But don't tell anyone. I think superhero shop at West Bay Pharmacy. West Bay Pharmacy, where the superheroes shop. West Bay Pharmacy and Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner.
This summer, choose from 10 international destinations for your vacation with Cayman Airways. Explore New York, discover Denver, roam Los Angeles, play in Tampa, shop in Miami, tour Panama, uncover Havana, hike in La Ceiba, jam in Kingston, or relax in Montego Bay. Connecting flights are also available from the sister islands. Cayman Airways offers more international non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline, and the lowest rates for checked bags. Book today at CaymanAirways.com, download our new mobile app, or call Cayman Airways reservations on 949-2311. Come fly with us and relax with your uniquely Caymanian airline.
Thinking about upgrading your sleep? It's time to discover big savings at Brand Source Home Gallery's Discover Day Mattress Sale. Save $800 on Stearns & Foster, $600 on Tempur-Pedic, $500 on Sealy mattress sets. Plus, enjoy free delivery. Say goodbye to the backaches, hello to the better rest. But hurry, sale ends June 7th. Visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 or check out brandsourcecayman.com.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We do have a caller on hold. I want to thank that caller for being so patient. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Patience? I don't have any patience. I got called a few minutes ago in regards to people's private yards and the business having their trees hanging all over our roads. And it's like 100% throughout the whole island, you know. And some of these trees not been maintained from day one. And we should not have to wait until hurricane season to come along to say, trim your trees. They got gardeners coming to the yards on a monthly basis. They should be maintaining their trees on their own without the government or CUC or any other company coming out there to try to take down some because the season is going on. Everybody is liable for their own property, OC. And we got this thing that we try to make everybody make believe that the governments and this one can fix everything for us. No, we got to do our own part too. And I got to tell you right now, I've been up here in Eunice now for several years well. And I ain't got no tree hanging in nobody's yard because I do not want nobody tree in my yard because I cannot afford to maintain it. Because when these gardeners cut anything extra, you got to pay them. You know? So I don't know why I don't know when last you drove through South Sound. But South Sound is a detrimental road to drive on hurricane season or no hurricane season. And they're all in private yards. And the gardeners in that area on a weekly basis. They need to maintain their trees. And you know what's going to happen? When someone get hurt, then they want to go and take the trees down. That is ludicrous. You see the almond tree up South Sound Road, South Church Street? That need to be removed, period. They're going to go and put 2 orange flashing, whatever, boards there. The eucalyptus tree that is hanging over a major road that is being driven on 24/7. Nobody is considering what the consequences of that tree can be when we are stopped there, especially when traffic is back up or waiting for a red light to change to green. OC, I just can't get it. Where are we? Where are we? Are we still sleeping? Are we not seeing things? Are we just driving and going to our destination and don't give a rap to what happened who's behind me? I made it a hate. You know, it is crazy. It is crazy. And, I haven't heard anything, but have you heard anything lately? What is going to happen on our roads with all of this crazy driving? Is anything in the making? Do you know of anything in the making?
I believe that there was a press conference recently where the commissioner of police, spoke about some of the measures that they will be taken as well, and it appears as if there will be more of a collaborative effort with the National Roads Authority, with various organizations like Cayman Cycling to try to make our roads safer as well. It is not one of those things where there is one silver bullet to it. It's going to take a concerted effort and a multi-pronged approach to address the whole issue. Because what you're talking about at the end of the day, and one of the most difficult things to control is human behavior. It all has to do with human behavior. Caller, are you there still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
I agree with you, but still, everybody got rules and regulations. See, you can't even see officers on the road. These guys are taking these roads for granted, and then they want to come and swing in front of you and then make a left turn or a right turn right afterwards. It's some. I don't know about road authority and this and that, but policing needs to be more heavy than what we got. They say we don't have enough police officers. Well, import some. We can import workers on work permit. Well, import some police officers on work permit and bring them in here. Let's get our streets under control because, OC, it's not good. And these guys are taking advantage of what they are doing. And I heard you say yesterday, I think it was yesterday, in regards about 3 months work permit will be needing a medical. Well, was it not always a thing, or that just come in and need? No, was not always a medical situation.
I think that based on what I saw there, it looked like as if that was the case. But whether or not it was being waived at the time, I'm not sure. But whatever was there and wasn't done, they're now reinstating it.
Well, well, that is good. And a contractor. Can a contractor get so many work permits and then sublease their workers out to other companies to do their job? Do we have that there at immigration? Is that what I'm seeing and hearing?
There are companies that subcontract their workers out to other companies. So they take out work permits, and the understanding is that they will be providing those workers to various other companies. That seems to be an accepted provision. As a matter of fact, in most areas of construction, that is what is being done now, because the major construction companies do not want to have to take on the responsibility of health insurance, pensions, and whatever else is necessary. They don't want to do that. So these companies now, they supposedly take on that responsibility. But in my opinion, to me, many of the workers are being exploited by these companies who take them and farm them out, that they're being exploited. I've known of situations where persons have had to pay for their own work permits, and a whole lot of other issues where their salaries are held back and things of that nature. So it is an area that really needs to be closely looked at. Not only in construction, but we need to look at some of these employment agencies who, will sign a contract with a big company, out there. We will provide you with administrative staff for up to 6 months or whatever. Those are the types of persons that are getting their feet in the door as well, getting in on the ground floor, making it more difficult for Caymanians to occupy some of these positions as well.
Yeah, but also we can believe for that. Is it the government?
Well, I'm not blaming it. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just pointing it out.
No. I am asking you.
Okay.
Who do we blame for this? Because this never happened before. Why is it happening? That's why the Caymanians will never learn construction work, because then they are bringing these people in here and then subleasing them out from one job to the next, and there's no, then they got these signs up there saying no trespassing, no this and no that, and not even telling you half the time what they are building there until when it's almost finished. Then they got come and say, oh, this is so and so condos or hotel or whatever the case may be, just to block us up, because then they already got the ground workers building the building, and then they're already looking for the workers online to bring in, to put into these places. So when is the Cayman Islands will ever, and for a small island, this has to stop. And whoever in charge of all of this is ludicrous, and this is not Cayman. This is not Cayman. And OC, I don't want to take no words out as a mill out, but let me tell you something. These young people are getting so fed up, and we are sitting here like we think everything's going to be okay every day. We're going to wake up one day, and I hope we never do, but they are getting fed up. They can't feed their children. They can't take their children to school properly. They can't live in a comfortable apartment, no AC, no air conditioning, no water, no whatever. The kids go to school and lash out. People are hurting in this island, and they are doing this under the immigration of doing these kind of things to not make a Caymanian get a job in any sector, in any department. This has to stop. It has to stop. So whoever that culprit is out there, you all need to consider that one day you're going to get old and you probably need someone to help take care of you. So it might be a Caymanian, so you better be careful. I'm not threatening nobody, but I'm just talking in general because I'm sick and tired of my Cayman people punishing. And I am punishing to a degree too because I still don't have a job. And where am I going to go when I don't have a job? I got to live right here in Cayman. But I'm going to let you go with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We have a WhatsApp caller, but I have something that I want to read here that was sent. And then we will go to the commercial break. So this was sent. No, I won't read this yet because I need to seek permission to do so because it was sent to my personal WhatsApp. Let's grab the WhatsApp caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. None? Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the commercial break then, Ms. Susan. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
My mom's a superhero. She always knows what to do when I feel icky. Yesterday, we went to West Bay Pharmacy, and they had everything she needed. Medicine, my favorite band-aids with dinosaurs, and even flavored vitamins. Mom says they keep our family healthy. I think they're magic. But don't tell anyone. I think superhero shop at West Bay Pharmacy. West Bay Pharmacy, where the superhero shop. West Bay Pharmacy and Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner.
This summer, choose from 10 international destinations for your vacation with Cayman Airways. Explore New York, discover Denver, roam Los Angeles, play in Tampa, shop in Miami, tour Panama, uncover Havana, hike in La Ceiba, jam in Kingston, or relax in Montego Bay. Connecting flights are also available from the sister islands. Cayman Airways offers more international non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline, and the lowest rates for checked bags. Book today at CaymanAirways.com, download our new mobile app, or call Cayman Airways reservations on 949-2311. Come fly with us and relax with your uniquely Caymanian airline.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Yesterday would have been the birthday of the late Mr. George Seymour. His sister, Miss Lucille Seymour, has written this tribute honoring the legacy of George Seymour, an ordinary man who did extraordinary things. Today, she wrote, this yesterday would have been the 93rd birthday of my beloved brother, George Seymour, a visionary pioneer whose dreams and ideas transformed the Cayman Islands in ways that continue to shape our community. George's journey began with a simple but powerful vision. He dreamed of owning a farm. This dream evolved into what is now known as Mount Trashmore, Cayman's most significant environmental project. What started as a swampy area purchased by George with hopes of raising cattle eventually became a popular dumping site and ultimately developed into the Georgetown landfill. Today, Mount Trashmore stands as a testament to his foresight and ambition, arguably the most critical project ever undertaken in Cayman. I believe deeply in the power of education and skill sharing. George often said that when you teach young people your skills, the country's wealth is tripled. His passion for learning and teaching was a cornerstone of his legacy. George Seymour passed away at the age of 84, leaving behind a legacy of ingenuity, vision, and perseverance. He was a natural visionary, a brilliant mechanic and engineer, and a man who dreamed big even when others tried to steal his ideas. Standing over 6 feet tall at age 14, he was seen as a strong man and a seasoned seaman, having traveled across continents and gained wisdom from his journeys. His good looks and charming personality made him beloved by many, regardless of background or hue. A true futurist, George envisioned a better Cayman. He corresponded diligently, studied hard, and became a wise engineer. Beyond that, he was a successful businessman and entrepreneur who carved out his place in a country where wealth was often limited to a few. Throughout his life, George invested in land, including the site of today's landfill, which he bought from Mr. Freddie General, a Caymanian landowner. The Seymour family owned much land except for his father, who spent his life exploring and dreaming of better days. In 1978, George bought 28 acres of land, turning a childhood dream into reality. Despite his mother's objection, he accepted $247,000 for the land instead of leasing it, driven by his vision and ambition. Though political obstacles and external pressures prevented him from fully realizing his farming dreams, his effort laid important groundwork for future generations. On this special day, I want to honor George Seymour, a trailblazer, a visionary, and a man of integrity. He reminds us that as Caymanians, we should believe in our dreams and work tirelessly to make them come true. His life teaches us that the only person responsible for shaping our destiny is ourselves. So true, so true. I also want to thank him personally for giving me the chance to be well schooled by paying for my secondary school fees, a gift that changed my life. George, as we celebrate your life today, may your dreams continue to inspire generations to come. Your legacy is a beacon of hope and possibility, guiding us towards a brighter future. Happy birthday forever in our hearts. Your loving sister, Lucille Seymour. With that, we are going to go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. It's about time.
Oh, well, we've been here all morning, but this beautiful tribute of that Miss Lucille wrote for her brother, I couldn't resist that. And while she didn't go into a whole lot of details, he was one of the first Caymanians to have a modern garage, where it was spick and span. You could practically eat off the floors, in his garage as well. I don't know if you're familiar with it and if you remember where it was down in the Scranton area.
Oh, see, I too would like to give kudos to Mr. George, because we used to go and hang out around there and chat with him, and he would try to give us guidance and stuff like that. Very, very articulate man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very, very well spoken,
mm-hmm.
and the likes. And yes, people like him, we need to give those accolades to. Yeah. And the people that come, no, not just us, see,
mm-hmm.
the people that come here need to know that. Long before they come here, we were doing stuff. We were the one who built this place.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to know that,
mm-hmm.
And but a couple of little things. I want to say, John and Peter, the brother and sister, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law,
mm-hmm.
They kind of got the hand on the pulse of Cayman also and what's happening, and and stuff like that. So I want them to know that my revolutionary group that I'm forming, they're going to be a part of it, you know? Okay. Another thing I'll say, before I touch on something that John was talking about this morning, because it took up a lot of the time, I know that one of the, I don't know whether it's Miss World, Cayman Miss World or Cayman Miss Universe, came in over the weekend on the British Airways.
I shared that. Also, somebody sent in a WhatsApp message about that. Yeah, you weren't listening to the entire show, or what?
Because when I put it on, and it was talking about something that I'll touch on in a minute. Yeah, and the child was there. Nobody to meet her at the airport, like the VIP treatment. No assistance with her luggage and all that kind of thing. I don't think that's right, OC. If she went abroad and to represent us, we should have like a delegate over there, you know, waiting to accept her back home and give her the VIP treatment, because every politician use it for them and their friends, you know, the VIP lounge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's unacceptable, you know.
Yep.
But when I started listening, I heard that you were on there again with this hazard management, I think it is.
Yeah, well, hazard management and the National Weather Service and everyone. We're in hurricane season. We got to keep people alert and aware.
We all know from June what's happening. We, as locals, know what's happening. But that don't do us no good when I don't hear nobody on there stating no program that is put in place to repatriate people off this island whenever we got a threat of a serious disaster, namely hurricane is on the way, because also we have a lot of time to, not a lot of time, but
whose responsibility should that be?
Well, I hear hazard management saying that we ready. That we ready. Ready means putting everything in place, because, if we get hit, a direct hit, we got more people here now than we had with Ivan. And we know what happened then. All those people that is living all over the place that don't even have a place to live, gonna need somewhere to stay. All those people gonna need food to eat.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna need water to drink.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think we need to start thinking seriously about repatriation in case there is a direct hit, and we can almost tell from time it leave the African shores where it's going nowadays. So we need to start preparing and singling out the people that is not essential, really essential, that we need to repatriate people in case that we're going to have a direct hit.
Well, I think that is part of the discussion. That's part of the discussion that they have when they go out there to the private sector and talk about preparedness and before, during, and after a hurricane as well. The reason there was a reason why I asked you who is responsible for that, because it is not a unitary responsibility. I mean, the government of the Cayman Islands, at the end of the day, is responsible for the safety of everyone occupying the Cayman Islands, right? But you have the private sector who bring people in here on work permits that they are responsible for. I see the government of the Cayman Islands being responsible for its, first and foremost, for its citizens. For its citizens.
I heard you say this morning that a lot of people are coming here and being exploited by the people that bring them.
Yeah.
So you think they got to be responsible? They're being exploited them. You think they got to be responsible? To get them off the island?
We have to make them. We have to make them responsible.
That's what I'm saying. We need to put something in place for that. Who need to do that? We need to do that, because, like you say, they bring some of the people that bring in people here don't even know where the people live or who they are.
Agree.
All they know is the name on the paper, and they submit for that work permit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, and I'm telling you, me and my girl Carol, we out there, Carol Jackson, investigating when you guys are sleeping. We see people sleeping in cars and using the recreational areas to take a shower. The people, and Nepal guy told us a couple of weeks ago by Lobster Pot. We find him sleeping. He was out in the open, or see, not a car sleeping in, He said he had nowhere to stay.
Mm-hmm.
But he waiting for a job. But I thought coming here, you come with a work permit to do a job, because the work permit say you must be qualified even for the job you come in here to do. So he was here not even having a job, having nowhere to live. I wonder who signed his accommodation form.
Yeah, I talk about this. I talk about all of this. I talked about all of this a few days ago about the accommodation form and the enforcement part of that needs to be done as well. You got to listen to my show more often, rather than just, calling. And you got to listen after you call in too.
I can't be listening to you all the time. I got to be listening to I guess that is coming over expecting things to be ready. And if
I
they're
understand.
not ready, they're not going to call in on your show, They're going to call in on that other show and complain about me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, see, I would like more to be done or prepared for a direct hit or hurricane. I'm not too happy about that because I was here. We were all here with that Ivan thing. And I saw what happened. We don't want that to happen again, and we got maybe double the population since that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, pretty close to it, yeah. And remember what happened with at the hospital, where the difficulty of getting them out of there afterwards. They were sleeping in the hallways, and about there. They went to the hospital to take refuge, and it took weeks to get them out of there after that. Months.
What about the school? Our kids couldn't go to school.
Yep.
Because people went to school and we couldn't get them out.
Yep.
Because you know what? Like I told you, they need somewhere to stay. They're human beings. They need something to eat. Where were they going?
Yep. I agree.
Where would they go?
I agree.
So that is what I'm concerned about.
Yep. Okay. Give us a chance to grab a few more callers. Thanks again for your input. Let's grab one more caller before we go to the last commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Mr. Coleman. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you, my friend?
Good, man. Always a breath of fresh air to hear you and Lord go back and forth, man. You need to invite him on the show one morning, man.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I not gonna keep you long. I just wanted to I guess point something out because I heard a later call this morning regarding the policing and the traffic and I guess the road use. I see a trend. I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but I see a lot of everyone, private vehicles, public buses, taxis, tour buses. They have this habit where they're picking up people or dropping people off in front of the pedestrian crossing. A lot of times, this is on the main road, you're driving and you can't tell if the person, you can't see, obviously, because the vehicle is there and you can't see if the person is coming across. So you're driving not knowing if they're getting off the bus or getting out the car or, and then all of a sudden when you get close to the vehicle, they cross blindly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if cones like barricades can be put maybe 50 yards before the pedestrian so people don't do that because a lot of times the people jump off the vehicle and just run on the pedestrian or pressing a button. You're coming up, obviously, don't know, you can't tell, so you can't see because obviously the size of the vehicle. So I don't know if, this could be kind of something that, traffic department and NRA can look at because it's definitely a hazard because I've seen a lot of near misses that happen to me. You're driving and, you just see when the person runs out in front of the vehicle and they don't press the button and obviously the vehicle is blocking the person from, they're obstructing the view.
Okay, that's a good point. But also as a driver, you don't think then that as a driver you should sort of, especially near to the crosswalk, treat those jitneys, those buses, transport the same way that you would react or treat a school bus dropping someone off because if it is a public transport that they stop there either to pick up someone or to drop them off. So as a driver, you want to have it in the back of your mind also that it is quite possible something could occur there.
Well, yeah, most definitely, but not everyone think that way.
True.
You're actually driving or you're talking to someone in the car.
Yeah.
Not knowing what they're going to do, because a lot of times the vehicle will even indicate it.
Yeah.
And then, so maybe, like I said, you can educate the people. If they want to pull ahead of the pedestrian, let the person know so you can see where the person going to go or whatever they're going to do. You can kind of have, but not everybody. We got people here that are here for the first time in driving.
That's true. That's true.
They're not thinking about that. We as locals probably know, and people understand. But a lot of people come here and get their license, and then they just driving trying to get home. So obviously, so it was just something I said.
Good point. No, excellent point. Excellent point, and certainly appreciate it. And we know you're an expert in this area as well. Thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, folks, we're going to take our last commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Thinking about upgrading your sleep? It's time to discover big savings at Brand Source Home Gallery's Discover Day Mattress Sale. Save $800 on Stearn & Foster, $600 on Tempur-Pedic, $500 on Sealy mattress sets. Plus, enjoy free delivery. Say goodbye to the backaches, hello to the better rest. But hurry, sale ends June 7th. Visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 or check out brandsourcecayman.com.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I think we have two callers left. They're likely to be the last two callers for the morning as well. Let's go to the WhatsApp caller first. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Orrett Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, and you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. Well, concerning young people today, as we know, things are a lot harder these days for the young people than it was for us. And they say stress, depression, and anxiety are things that we all should try to avoid, but especially our young people. It can lead to suicidal thoughts, and it can also lead to health problems or making the wrong decisions, maybe by starting to use drugs or alcohol. And I would just like to say to the young people and to the parents, being raised in the Cayman Islands and knowing that our ancestors were God-fearing people, the scripture verse Psalm 24 is on our flag. The best suggestions we can give our young people today as a God-fearing country is to seek God's will for their life, find God's will for their life, decide to live their lives according to Jesus and God's will only, and that is by being saved and baptized. That way, they won't be living in confusion or in fear. And that will help them to make the right decisions in their lives, that they will be living without having any regrets. and making the wrong decisions in life. Thank you very much, Mr. Orrett Connor.
Thank you very much. Very good advice, and thanks for your contribution there, as well. But what I would add to that also, that if we lead by example while our children are young, then, we may not have a perfect 100% batting average, but it helps along the way. It's much easier to teach them when they're young than to have them change their ways when they become adolescents, as well. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm here, sir. I'm here. A little bit hurt. When I call, I don't have to call a talk show, but I really had to call it this morning to back up God Graham and what he was saying about this young lady.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the one that took care of her.
Wow.
I was the one. I watched her come through from immigration. I thought she was with somebody escort, and when I looked, she came straight through as like a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to her and I asked her if she had any luggage. She said she had 4. When I looked, she had a costume. It was wrapped. Some wrap. Big something. Her costume. And then 3 heavy suitcases. And I was the one that helped her.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
When she went out, I escorted her through. And when I went outside, it was one of her mother, her father, and about maybe 15, 20 other people. That hurt me so much. So I just called in to make you know I was the one to help her. That's why I had my job so long as a CBC worker. Porter, not afraid of so. I'm a porter. Call me Sky Cab.
But we know that you look out for everyone, but you look out for your people as well, and everyone is hunting you down, or what's my friend's name there again now?
Help everyone.
Yep. Yes.
Calling to make you know, say I was hurt to see that young lady. I came through like that by herself, and I asked her if she had any luggage, and I helped her. It was me to help her. I escort her. I gave her VIP treatment.
But you said that there was a welcoming group out there, just more than just her parents. There were other persons out there as well.
Look at her with her mother,
Mm-hmm.
father, and look at some other friends, but maybe about 20 people. That's all it was. No
Okay.
more.
But you didn't see anyone that appeared to be in an official capacity.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if those people didn't contact the government or what. I don't know. But it was sad to see her coming through by herself like that.
Yes. That's got to be a lonely feeling. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just call you to make you know what that was the update on that.
Okay, well, thank you very much for all that you do up there at Owen Roberts International Airport. You and Andrew and the rest of the crew as well do an excellent job. I know if the Customs and Civil Aviation could clone several of you, because you are such great ambassadors for the Cayman Islands right there in that area, and no one should ever demean what you do there, because it goes beyond just lifting luggage. It goes that's just a minor part of what you guys do up there, and please accept our gratitude for what you do. Okay, I have a few messages here I can read at the same time. This one says, "Good morning, Mr. Connor. Today is a very special day. Please wish my one and only daughter, Tasha Dilbert Bennett, who's celebrating her 35th birthday." I think I read this morning, but I'll read it again. Celebrating her 35th birthday today. Happy birthday. Greetings from her mom, Sylvia, Miss Winsome, uncles, Danielle, Marias, Frederick, aunts Elaine, Cleopatra, Vivian, we all love you. Again, happy birthday to Tasha Dilbert Bennett. One more message here, what this one says. Okay, person says, sounds like Lord Graham gave you a strong cup of coffee this morning. That was funny. Is this today as well? Okay. Okay. Says that's very sad and disappointed to hear this regarding Miss Ramon, her family and supporters. It would be more professional and fair if this had been handled differently. This only brings judgmental answers to both parties by the public. Hope this can be clarified to the public. Wishing Miss Ramon, her mother, and others to have a professional and respectful outcome and reply to Miss Ramon's reign and crown, which she held, will be fair. Okay. Those are all the messages. No other callers on hold. So we only have about 3 minutes left to go in the show as well. What else can I share with you? It seems as if I just came across a message here. It seems as if the state opening and first meeting of the 2025-2026 session of Parliament will take place on Wednesday, the 25th of June at 2 p.m. So I'm sure that we will hear more about this as well, but that is hot off the press, that the 25th of June, Wednesday the 25th of June, will be first meeting, state opening and first meeting of our Parliament, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and we hope and we trust that they start on time. I am sure that our new speaker will be as well. This is, I said, did the two on the cross with Jesus, did they get baptized? He said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Bible quote there as well. So folks, I want to thank all of you who tuned in this morning, those of you who contributed by offering your comments and recommendations, by asking the questions. We want to thank the members from Hazard Management, Cayman Islands, Ms. Danielle Coleman, Mr. Mark Codling, the comms director as well, Ms. Oneisha Richards, and the director of the National Weather Service, Mr. John Tibbetts, for being in the studio, keeping us alert, keeping us aware, keeping us on our toes in relation to hurricane season as well. And we need to look much more closely into evacuation plans. Not only, like Lord Graham said, not only what government has in place, but what the private sector has, and let them, we know some of them shoulder the responsibility, those with the financial wherewithal and all, they can bring their private planes in and relocate their staff and, as well. But those who are already being exploited by the system and by the business owners in the Cayman Islands, those are the ones that are left vulnerable as well. And we don't know what the ramifications may be. If you end up with a situation where, and I hope it never happens, but you have mass casualties as a result of people not having proper places to shelter as well. So I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are. Ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. Have a great day. Continue to support your radio station. Radio Cayman joins Mr. Charles Glidden at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice. And the Cayman Islands National Museum. Explore captivating exhibits and learn about our